Don't be scared. Joctopus can smell.
Okay guys, the moment we uploaded the Cartoon Nerd script, we knew exactly what we had to do next, from one end of the high school hierarchy to the other. Today, we're getting out onto the field to rank cartoon jocks good to evil. And before we get to the bullies, we're gonna start with the buddies. These are the good jocks. And all things considered, the gold medal of good has to go to Tyler from Total Drama Island. In a series with drama literally in its name, and a spoof on reality TV, which in turn is a genre notorious for the most trashy, toxic sides of human nature being on display. Tyler is a breath of fresh air, to say the least. He might have a small brain, but he more than makes up for that with a big heart. He's one of the few contestants who places general human decency above the game, from his loyalty to his girlfriend Lindsay, even when she literally forgets his name.
Hi, Daryl!
It's me, Tyler!
To his insistence on saving Owen in World Tour's Area 51 challenge. Tyler is a purely good guy without any real marks against him, and while he's a bit overconfident in his skills, it never keeps him from treating those around him with consistent kindness and respect, which makes him an easy choice for the title of Most Good Cartoon Jock. Which brings us to the silver medal of good, which has to go to Hank from King of the Hill. He was Arlen High's star running back in his prime, with a near unbreakable touchdown record. He takes great pride in this achievement while remaining an incredibly modest, moral man overall. He cares deeply for his wife Peggy and son Bobby, always doing his best to support them even when they just ain't right.
I work in propane and propane accessories.
At his worst, Hank is emotionally closed off and a bit of a stick in the mud to say the least. But it never comes from a place of malice or evil. He's just a normal, decent, straight and narrow guy. Though he does have to lose a couple of points for the times it was implied he was a bit of a bully in high school. He could be a bit cruel with those insults.
Hey, fatty! You are fat!
Now from Arlen to Bikini Bottom, next up we have Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob SquarePants. What can we say about a guy like Larry? He's the type of dude you just want to live like. The people of Goo Lagoon love him for a reason, and it's not just those biceps. Aside from being a generally pleasant dude, as a lifeguard, he also saves beachgoers from drowning on a daily basis, taking his job very seriously. When he finds out SpongeBob was faking being a lifeguard, he doesn't reprimand him, instead giving him and Patrick free swimming lessons to make sure it won't happen again.
And I still don't have my ice cream.
The only thing we have to take some points away from Larry for are his ego. He can certainly be a little conceited at times, and this can act like him being a jerk on occasion, but it's seldom and nowhere near enough to take away from how much of a nice guy he is. Next up we have the youngest entry so far, Gerald from Hey Arnold. If his jersey-themed shirt wasn't enough indication, Gerald is a sports fan. He's always down to play with his friends, indicated by the fact that he and Arnold helped clean up a vacant lot to use as a makeshift baseball field. Gerald's sportiness may not quite be his defining characteristic like many others on this list, but he's probably best summed up as a team player in general.
Don't worry, we counted out perfectly.
He's a very loyal friend to Arnold and someone he can consistently count on, which is super important in the formative years. Rounding out the good territory, we just had to mention the god of basketball from Regular Show. His holistic view of basketball is a little questionable, sure, but when Mordecai and Rigby are struggling to learn the game, he's willing to teach them and help them beat Muscle Man in fives. Later on, he shows himself to be a friend, helping the Park Gang fight against their enemies in Exit 9B. We have to rank him this low because he also helps Mordecai and Rigby cheat in his debut appearance, but it is just a basketball game, dude. With literal godlike powers, he could be doing a lot worse than that. Now let's go from the field to the bench for a bit. These guys compose the gray area. Mako from Legend of Korra kicks off this section. This firebending expert plays with his younger brother in pro bending tournaments to provide for the two of them. This earns him a lot of good points right away, as does his deeply protective attitude towards Bolin. He even ultimately helps Korra save the world on several occasions, earning him some actual hero points as well.
We need to be smart about this.
So why did he land in the gray area? Well, simple. While Mako has objectively done a lot of good things, he's also very insensitive, especially in regards to his romantic relationships. friends. He cheats multiple times, kisses Korra knowing full well his brother is into her, and does have a bit of a temper in general. Now this might be a surprising entry, but we've got to talk about Mike Tyson from Mike Tyson Mysteries. This is certainly one of the lesser known shows we're talking about today, but come on, we're not going to pass up the chance to talk about Mike Tyson teaming up with a pigeon voiced by Norm Macdonald. In this series, the retired boxer has a bit of a short temper and can be prone to violence. I don't know where they came up with that character, but he does have his good points as well, caring sincerely for his daughter and his pigeon, and doing plenty of good with his mystery-solving activities, putting away many dangerous criminals. Speaking of dangerous, next is a dangerously beautiful man, Johnny Bravo from Johnny Bravo. He's not out to save the world or anything, but Johnny isn't a bad guy by any means. Like many guys out there, he's just trying to get laid.
How you doing?
Does that make him a noble hero? No. But aside from being a bit forward and sexist, there isn't too much bad to say about him. I mean, he is vain and immature and honestly downright stupid, but definitely not evil. Next up, we have one of the most colorful characters, Tobias Wilson from Gumball. Tobias is one of those characters who hits a pretty comfy balance between being shallow enough to call not good, but harmless enough to call not bad. His ego can lead him to do petty things, from trying to get Gumball to pay him to join their friend group, to dueling with him for the hand of Penny, who has no interest in him. Oh, and there was also the time he fantasized about defeating all of Gumball's friends to become his only best friend, Scott Pilgrim style.
Sorry.
But he just wanted a friend. If nothing else, Tobias isn't violent towards others. He's just an occasionally misguided kid and a bit rude at times. We're inching dangerously close to bully territory now, starting with Lynn Jr. from The Loud House. Out of all of Lincoln's sisters, Lynn is one of the most tumultuous in terms of morality. While she has her good qualities, like her loyalty and protectiveness towards her family, she's also prone to bullying others, whether it's to get her way or just to have fun.
It's good luck for the team.
Lynn definitely has some anger and violence issues to work through. She's also overly competitive, notoriously ruining any family game night she's a part of. That said, she does genuinely love her family regardless of her faults, and taking those violent tendencies out of the equation, she's generally very friendly with others. Next up, we have Riley from the Boondocks. To be blunt, Riley is a mess of a kid. He's not bad, mind you, but his idolization of thug life can make him act badly, rarely showing any sort of good nature to others simply because of a fear of looking gay. Fundamentally, he's not a bad kid. He helps Huey with many of his endeavors, which earn him some credit by proxy, and for all his surface level issues, he does genuinely care about people at the end of the day. He's a kid who doesn't have a lot of positive influences in his life, and while his behavior does reflect that, he's just a kid and has a lot of time to grow up. Nearing the end of this section, we have Lightning from Revenge of the Island. The last two episodes of the season gave Lightning a bad rap for his determination to crush Cameron in the finale over the latter's seeming betrayal of him, showing his extremely over-competitive nature. He's willing to resort to violence at times to ensure he'd win at all costs.
$1 million, here I come.
That said, ignoring his extreme competitiveness in the finale, Lightning wasn't actually that bad. He's a showboat and kind of a jerk, sure, but generally speaking, he was more helpful than harmful. In the first episode, he saved Cameron from drowning, and supports Joe through the difficult time of coming out. Oh yeah, one more thing. In the finale, Lightning desperately tries to get his father's attention to cheer him on, but unfortunately, his dad is too concerned with the media showering him with attention, and bets his Super Bowl ring on Lightning winning the season. It's hard to blame him for working so hard. At heart, he's just a kid trying to make his dad proud. And that's honestly kinda sad. He is a bit of a jerk and definitely has a huge ego problem, but he does fall just shy of being a full-on bully. And that places him right next to Homer Simpson from The Simpsons to close out the gray area. Of his own admission, Homer is a jock, and as such, it's his duty to give nerds a hard time. This alone wouldn't be enough to place him quite so low, but then there's the numerous other horrible things he's done over the years.
I'm going to the little pig's room. Can you cover for me?
From strangling his 8-year-old son regularly to framing his wife for a DUI. But for every bad thing Homer does, he does something noble that proves his love for his family, and that he has at least some decency. And that's just barely enough to keep him out of the bad section. Now get ready ready to call foul because these jocks fall in the bad and evil section. The bronze medal of evil goes to a clean-cut bully, Dash Baxter from Danny Phantom. Really, that word is pretty much where Dash's character begins and ends. A bully. Dash hits every negative jock stereotype in the book and then nothing. His hobbies include shoving kids into lockers, physically abusing weaker students whenever he can, and being an all-around total jerk.
This is Mikey. He'll be doing your homework from now on.
He has some good points, like his love for his pet chihuahua, Pookie, and he does genuinely admire Danny's heroic alter ego, which is ironic given how much he hassles Danny in person, though there really isn't much outright good to say about Dash, which is why he earns the bronze medal of evil. Really, these two are borderline interchangeable, but we're giving Jocktopus from Fishhooks our silver medal. Fishhooks is not one of Disney's more revered cartoons, but it definitely deserves a bit more credit than it's given. Case in point, Jocktopus. His name is Jocktopus, which is just wonderful, really.
Wow, Jocktopus, that was beautiful.
But his personality really isn't. He takes way too much trouble in bullying other kids, in ways that are so comically exaggerated that he looks worse than many other bullies in comparison. I guess he could be worse, and there are some hints of a sensitive soul beneath all that violence, but for now, he has to land squarely in the bottom territory of our list. But as far as we're concerned, the gold medal of evil has to go to Big Willie Lane from King of the Hill, a fictitious retired player of the Dallas Cowboys. Willie only appears in one episode, but it was enough to make an impact that keeps him right at the bottom of our list.
One! We did it, Cowboys!
He became one hell of a nuisance to Arlen when he moved in. Even Hank, who absolutely idolizes the Cowboys, could not stand his loud parties past midnight. He used his status and strength to manipulate/intimidate people, to do as he wanted, and wouldn't hesitate to resort to physical violence whenever his desires were threatened. He even punched Hank, which ironically led to his downfall due to his Super Bowl ring.